I'm going to start right into today's video. Today we're going to be talking about a grounded spirituality, and I'm not gonna dilly-dally much longer before I dive into this topic. I know it's been some time since my last video. I'm sorry about the wait. Life has been literally so crazy. It's been a whirlwind for me since I got back from Costa Rica. Before I start, I wanted to make a quick announcement that my website is back up and running, so I am back to offering spiritual services. Those are open again. I have 2 different readings that I'm offering, so the link is going to be in the description box. You can head there to check it out. Once again, without further ado, let's dive right in. I do want to preface this by saying that, you know, this is my personal experience, and you get to choose whether or not it resonates for you. That's the beauty of this life, is you always have a choice. So, grounded spirituality, this is something that I have mentioned before in my other video, something that I really wanted to dive into. This isn't going to be the only video on it. I feel like it's just going to keep cropping up in like future videos that I make too. But I just kind of wanted to break down a little bit of why this is something that's really important to me, why this is something that I really believe in. And honestly, like what grounded spirituality means to me is really just balancing your earthly life with your spiritual life, which is something that you should be doing anyway. You know, like your spirituality shouldn't be separate from what you do in your day-to-day life. It should kind of be like a balance of both. More focus on your current earthly life, not your past life, not your Lemurian priestess life, not your starseed life, just you. You without the bells, you without the whistles, you at your very core without any labels, nothing like, you know, just you, raw and down you. Why am I being so brusque about it? Because honestly, like, yeah, if you watch my earlier videos, yeah, I talked about starseed stuff. Yeah, I talked about, I don't know, out there stuff. Yes, but what I have come to really realize and start to move away from is that there's just so much woo-woo stuff out there. Like, there's too much. And the way that it affected me is at some point it really started to feed my delusions. Things that feed your delusions take you away from the present moment. They take you away from really like what matters in your actual daily life. You know, not the readings that tell you who's got their eye on you, not the readings that tell you, is my ex gonna come back into my life? The knowledge of that, you know, what is that really giving you? Aside from perhaps painting a picture of a fantasy that may or may not happen for you. And that is not healthy. And again, this is just my opinion. This is just one person's opinion, and I'm just putting that opinion out there because it might help some people to take a different perspective and a different approach. But yeah, what's really important are the actions that you take in your relationships, not necessarily knowing like what's going to happen next in your relationship, you know? Like, one of the most important things in this life is just to be in the experience and not necessarily always be planning a step ahead, because that takes you away from being in the present moment, doesn't it? What else is important? You know, the difference that you're making in your community, the steps that you're taking to actualize your dreams and actually bring them physically into your reality. Not just thinking about them, not just putting energetic manifestations out there, but actually putting in the groundwork to make them happen. That's what matters. That is what matters. And yeah, it's really easy to get swept up in the whole New Age movement because it's fun, it's interesting, it's mystical, you know, there's all this. You're learning so much about all these different things, and it's just easy to kind of, like I said, get swept up in that. This too much woo-woo, ungrounded spirituality really began to affect my head. Even though, you know, I like played it cool on the outside, but it really got to a point where I stopped being able to tell, like, it started messing with me. I couldn't tell what was reality versus what was perceived energy, and things just, you know, I wasn't present in my day-to-day life. I was always thinking about energy and like tapping in and like doing readings and all that stuff. And it just wasn't healthy for me, and it wasn't safe for me. So, in the time that I had a forced break from spirituality, which if you watched my last video, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. If not, go watch it. It'll give you a little precursor to why I'm kind of like throwing all this energy into this video right now. But in the time that I had a forced break, I spent more time in nature. I focused more on non-spiritual activities, like just getting out there and just meeting new people. It really pushed me to find more friends with interests outside of spirituality, which was really good for me. And it really opened my eyes to like more hobbies that I could do, other people that I met who weren't necessarily on like such a deep spiritual path. I mean, we all are in one way or another, but you know, I could have conversations that weren't necessarily about like, oh, like what's at the core of your heart and all that stuff. And I could just make funny jokes and just talk to people like, you know, just easy conversations that didn't always have to go into like depth or trauma, because that can get really heavy. Okay. And if you're an empath, you know, it can get really heavy. So it was a nice break to, you know, just meet people outside of my spiritual interests and do like normal everyday activities that didn't have to do with reading energy or like tapping in and stuff like that. And as a result, I found a lot of people who were very grounded, and that was what I really needed. Like I needed to find more grounding. And these people weren't chasing enlightenment, which is important. They weren't chasing ascension or like the next step or like things like that. They were just, you know, chill people in the moment, you know, like, hey, do you want to go to this concert? Cool. They weren't like, you know, should I go to this concert? Like, what will happen there? Things like, you know, I'm being a little extreme, but essentially, you know, that's the gist of it. Like the biggest takeaway from that whole experience was that it really taught me how to be present in the moment and present with what was literally physically in front of me and around me. You know, it really pulled me away from being so tuned into like everything that might not physically be there, and brought me back to it really just brought me back to myself. Like, I don't know what else to say. It brought me back to myself. It brought me back to what's in front of me, what matters. It brought me back down to earth. And what it really caused was that I was no longer pursuing constant connection. And instead of trying to connect every time that I had a quiet moment or an opportunity to meditate and things like that, things shifted. And now really I only connect when I feel it's necessary, when it's regarding maybe something major. When I like genuinely feel confused instead of like just apprehensive to make a wrong move. And now I'm kind of like embracing like, well, whatever happens, happens. Que sera, sera, you know. What else changed? Meditation no longer became a time for me to seek answers. And instead it became what, in my opinion, I think it should be, is a moment to just be and breathe. You know, if my retreat taught me anything, it's that, you know, at the core of it, meditation is just being and breathing. Being and breathing. Without questions, without seeking. You're just in your own energy, in your own vibe, in your own space. Like, that's you time. What you do with it is up to you, of course, but at the base of it all, meditation is just being and breathing. So that's what I mean by being more grounded spirituality. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that gave you just a little bit of a tidbit, a little bit of an insight to what the heck I'm talking about. But I felt like this topic of conversation is important to share, and, you know, I'm going to put my take out on it. And that's not to say that my way of spirituality is the only way. In fact, run fast from anyone who says that their way is the right way, and run really fast from anyone who makes you feel that way as well, even if they're not saying it outright. If they're making you feel like there's only one right way to do something, run for the hills, because there are many paths to spirituality. And I don't remember if that one quote is from yoga or not, but somebody said, one truth, many paths. Yeah, there's a million people out there. There's more than a million people out there. And everyone is going to have a different experience. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get everybody doing the same thing, because free will and chaos theory guarantee that there's always going to be something different happening. Whew. So this is the path that helped me. This is the value that has really blossomed and taken root in my core right now. And if you find yourself feeling in like you're in a similar predicament or feeling a similar way, and something in this video resonates for you, then there is something in our paths that they're on a similar trajectory is what I can say. Whew, yeah. This was just like a quick tidbit. Hopefully you had something to take away from this. And if not, then why not? Tell me your thoughts. Put them in the comment box down below. Yeah, I hopefully am going to be able to put out more videos. I know I'm not outside like I usually am. I honestly got sick of waiting for the weather to turn up because whenever the weather was nice, I was busy working. And whenever the weather was horrible, I just didn't want to go outside and be in like the wind and the cold and the drizzle. So yeah, I have a really cute, beautiful space that I can occasionally record in sometimes. And yeah, other than that, honestly, I hope you guys are all doing super well. Let's see what the future has in store for this channel, for me, for you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.